fill out that says they do or do not want to have their union representative with them in an investigatory meeting. And my grievance said that his supervisor started asking him questions about this child abuse case without ever giving him that form. Is that true?
No, oh no.
Or you have a copy of the form then with the signature on it?
No, I do not have a copy of that form.
Wait, that's a violation of contract. We can keep going.
Okay.
So he was accused of abusing a child,
right?
With hitting that child with a stick.
On June 1st, Ronald was observed by another employee, another worker.
Who was that?
The worker's name was Missy Bailey.
Yeah. And what kind of worker was she?
Missy Bill is a teacher's assistant.
And how long has she been working these?
She's been working with the Arkansas Department of Human Services for Arkansas Department of Head Starts for 10 years.
10 years. Okay. What did she say that Ronald did?
She observed Ronald, a child was being belligerent, being loud. As she stated, Ms. Bell stated that Ronald on 2 occasions grabbed the child by the arm, forcibly made the child sit down, then verbally abused the child, put his finger in the child's face, and said, if you don't stop, quote unquote, I'm going to whip your butt.
He said this to a 4-year-old kid?
Yes.
Well, Ronald, are you going to deny this or support the idea that he did this?
I didn't do it.
Didn't do it.
Exact words.
Well, you know, also, Ronald, on May 5th of last year, you were also issued a verbal warning by your supervisor stating that you were verbally abusive to a child. That verbal warning is here it is, that was actually put into your file.
That doesn't seem like this list has any witnesses on it.
No. Mr. Ronald's supervisor called him in and talked to him, you know, on verbal warnings. It's not a mission of guilt. It's not a mission that you actually did anything. It's basically just somebody, your supervisor, telling you to be aware of this behavior, that this behavior has came to the supervisor's attention. And because
well, this step 1 grievance, we want to get Ronald's position down in writing, so, you know, and verbally with you right now. So we'll let him tell his side of the story.
Well, June the 1st?
Yes.
2011, I asked the student to please calm down. And he just kept being disobedient. So I did my tone of, I get angry, well, I would say I get, never say I get, I'm sorry. Because the person who committed,
we didn't yell.
No, I didn't. Okay. I didn't yell. I may have lost it.
Okay, next grievance.
Well, you know, the fact is that you didn't fill out that form remote way, did you? Because you have to give him the right to have representation from the very beginning, or whatever he's charged with goes out the door.
Right.
So what you need to do is learn how to do your job a little bit better. We have a union contract.
That's right. He did it the right way. He did it the right way. That's what you're supposed to do. If Mr. Ronald, if they ignore his representation,
Right.
then his rights, then automatically the grievance ends right there. Now, if those steps were taken, and we'll play it from there. Yes, he did sign the letter. He does.
Then he wanted representation.
He wanted representation. Here it is.
Okay, but he didn't get it at that meeting. That's precisely my point.
Once Mr. Ronald, once he was informed that discipline was going to take place, we gave him the letter. He has 5 days from the time that we gave him the letter to return to us that he will grieve the discipline, that he also has the right to be represented. He did not return the paper, or if he did return the form, here it is.
Well, it looks like to me we're not gonna get very far with you today, so I think we're just gonna go ahead and ask you to give us your reply to our denial, and we'll just take it to step two. Someone might actually listen to what we have to say. Thanks for coming in.
No problem.
All right.
He still got his job. We had a case just like this other day at Head Start. And the head of Human Resources came out with a signed statement, but it was for a third meeting, not the first one. And it just made him look really, really stupid. Because he was waiving it, but then we looked at the date, and it wasn't the first meeting they had with him, it was the third one. So it just, and this guy's been coming for a year. It looks like we know the rules by now. And we just have to keep repeating it until they quite understand it. Our members need to know, don't ever talk to anyone about your situation at work without representation. And if they force you to talk to them, write a statement out saying, I'm being forced by so-and-so, so-and-so, and get them to sign it. Usually, they'll stop when you give a written statement. Just like in court law, you have a right to representation, right, Evelyn?
Can I just say, don't sign the first, don't sign the second, don't sign no paper, because there's a trick in it. Because if you sign it, they'll find witness, somebody's witness, and do fraud, because it happened to me. They say they did, and they said it was my third reason, and it wasn't. So we had to take it all the way up to the CEO before we ordered, so we will.
And you got your job back.
So the trick is, don't ever sign the first one. If you don't sign the first one, you got your right to say, I want my union rep here. Okay.
Another thing to be very aware of, very important. When they try to bring this to you, or they're going to give you this, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be based on some policy. It's a policy that they're going to take, that they say, this is the reason we're doing this, this is based on this policy. Always, as a steward, as a rep, to make sure that you know the policy.
Right.
Beforehand, because if you go in there and you don't know the policy, now, you really put yourself at a disadvantage, you really put the member at a disadvantage. Because when you know the policy, whatever they throw at you, that's always certain procedures. Or did something that I had to learn the hard way. He asked me a question and said, well, did you do this? And the first time I went into the first level of grievance, which is mediation, I went in and my eyes like, I didn't know how to respond. So I learned quick that there are certain things you have to do. And the certain things you ask them, did you do this? The first thing he said, did you send him this letter? Did he sign it? Did you ask for representation? And a lot of times you can end it right there if they haven't done it. So you make sure that they have done the procedures that they're supposed to do. Make a checklist to yourself of what to do.
And in Gulf Coast, they've even had the guy, people sign the form saying this is not an investigatory meeting, but sign it anyway. And we get in the hearing, and I said, did they offer you a rep? No, they just said to sign it. I didn't know what I was doing. And the reason I didn't know was their steward hadn't informed him. Now you can just bet anything happens in Evelyn's school and a worker comes to her, she's gonna know how it goes because she's been down that path too.
I know twice with you.
So you had something?
So they told her, they said, well, you have a paper, you sign this paper, that's saying that you didn't take the money.
Right.
The paper was saying that she admitted to being guilty.
So they started talking to me, and I said, I'm not supposed to be in here with y'all by myself.
Right.
And they said, well, we're just, whatever it was,
Just chatting.
We're just investigating, probably.
And I said, I was told I'm not supposed to be in here by myself. Well, my area director got upset. He jumped up. And at that time, the supervisor had went out to make a copy of something, and he came back in. He said, well, she don't want to talk to me, is what he said.
Right.
And I just looked and kind of laughed. I just, kind of laughed. He got upset with me because I told him I need a witness in there with me
Right.
to talk to them.
Like Danae said earlier, I can't be there, Kenny can't be there, Tony can't be there, a rep can't be there, you need to have a second person there, because they're always, you look at this, they'll always have two people in for them, sometimes three. You need to have backup. And that person may not need to be talking, but they need to be taking notes. And then she needs to sign those notes and date those notes, because that becomes our record of what happened to me, because they're going to lie about what happened to me. But that's why y'all here need to go back to your workplaces and start talking to people, getting them prepared for when that day happens to them. Don't talk with them without me being there with you. That'd be you. And the thing is that once you've done these 4, 5, 6, 7 times, you start knowing all the tricks. And you start knowing what the rules are. And what you end up doing is knowing the rules better than they do. And that's one of the advantages I have. But between Wade and me, we wrote the Gulf Coast contract. We know every word in that contract, and we know when they're not following what the rules are. And it saves people like Evelyn, it saves people. Hurley, you ever been in trouble?
No. Not as far as I'm concerned.
It wasn't real trouble. It was trouble. What happened to you?
They told me I had to go into a meeting. I said, not until I call you.
Did the meeting ever happen, or they just forget about it?
Oh, it happened when we went in, you told me not to talk, let you do all the talking. And you sort of nutted up a few times, and I told you serious matter. So, you wanted to pay for it because I really didn't have the knife to cut the woman.
How about you, Miss West, or have you changed your name now?
It is changed.
Well, what do I call you now?
Thomas.
Miss Thomas.
Miss Thomas.
Miss Thomas, have you ever had any troubles with the
Well,
You've never been in trouble as Mrs. Thomas?
The day is gone.
Well, the biggest issue I had is like the young lady spoke earlier. When you're in the district for so long, it seems like they just try to pick on you, any little thing. But my safety zone have always been being able to call you, but I've always kept good records of my performance. If I get a good report, I always keep good records. So therefore, I make a copy for myself. I leave a copy at work, the original. So I was able to show, they say, well, you're not doing your job. I say, well, if I'm not doing my job, whoever gave me these good reports are not doing their job. Because every report I got have always been good. But you're saying I'm not doing the, so they basically kind of moved me around to try to inconvenience me. When you told them, hey, you know, you got to find her a place to go. And they did find me a place to go. It was an inconvenience, but it turned out to be real good for me. And now, I'm getting a call this summer. They're wanting to move me. They're offering me a school that they know I don't want.
Which one is it?
There's a school that's Brookline.
Brookline.
It's trying to offer, but Brookline have like 1,000 and some kids, and I'm happy where I am.
Well, they're trying to give you more money too?
No.
Well, you don't need 1,000 kids.
No, I don't want it. So I'm getting word to call Miss West and tell her that this school is available, but I didn't ask them for no school, so I'm staying right where I am.
Well, let them call Miss West.
Let them call Miss West.
Yeah, because Miss Thomas ain't moving.
So did they lie down and give the floor back to you, or do you want me to just keep chit-chatting?
Well, are there any other issues that are different than this that have come up? I know a lot of people are talking about these Dallas County issues. Anything that y'all would like to talk through and see how it would go? We've got some time for another case.
I'd like to ask a question though, about the paper. You said you're supposed to get a paper report on the
At the Head Start Agency in Houston, we have a contract, which you don't have a contract in Dallas County because it's against the law. But we have a contract there that says they have to sign off on it. Now the reason we got that was because people kept being abused. So some of the women wanted that in the contract. They suggested we put it in there. So you have to sign to get representation or not to get it. We don't have that in Dallas County, but there's no reason we can't go to the Human Resource Department and ask for one.
But see, on our grievance, it says on the grievance that they can represent us. So we don't
It
have,
does.
yeah, that's so we don't have a problem. If you want that person to represent you, then you put on the back of the paper that you want that person to represent you. So really, we don't need it. It's already on that.
If it's on there, but it's always nice to have a real
It's
plain.
already there.
I want them or I don't, yes or no.
Right.
And in Gulf Coast, they're supposed to send us a copy of it because we need to keep a record, even if the
Well, we
person
get
don't
a
want
copy
it.
of it. We get a copy of it.
Okay, well, maybe you don't need it.
All this comes from Supreme Court decision years ago called the Weingarten case. It was actually based on, any of y'all from Houston? Remember years ago, what was the name of that grocery store? Weingarten. So this actual right that all workers in the United States have comes from the Weingarten Supermarkets case.
Okay.
And what it says is that in a unionized facility, in virtually any facility, public or private, because this is the U.S. Supreme Court, if a worker asks to have representation with them when they're called into a proceeding that is for the purpose of investigating some infraction that the worker may not may have been involved in, you have the right to ask for a representative. Now, that representative does not necessarily have the right to speak. You have to win that, you know, in the exchange. And they don't necessarily have to have that representative there in order to decide what punishment to mete out. They can cancel the investigation altogether. They can just give you a write-up and not have the investigation meeting. But if they're calling you in to talk to you about something you allegedly did wrong, so there's clarity about the fact that it's an investigation, you have the right to have a representative from the union, from your co-workers, as a witness and as somebody who can help you. And that's your Weingarten right. There's no, it's sort of like what Karen Carter was just saying. That's the Supreme Court, you know, law is clear, Supreme Court determined it. It's one of the easiest things we bargain in every contract, private sector or public sector, is essentially our section called the Weingarten rights, which is you have a right to a representative. So never think that that's something that they can take away or tell you. They can all of a sudden say, okay, you're demanding to have somebody with you, meeting over, or you walk in with somebody and say, this is my representative, Mildred Edmonds. They can say, okay, never mind, meeting over, and just hand you a write-up, but they can't make you go through an investigation without a representative in a union situation.
Like asking you questions. Oh, we're investigating. We're asking you a question about what happened. We want your side of the story. It's just like when a criminal, you know, has a right to a representation, has a right to a lawyer, and anything you get from them without the representative there can't be used against them. So it's the same kind of concept, except it's in labor law. And it's very fundamental because they will abuse you almost every time if you don't have representation. It doesn't have to be a union rep, it could be a fellow worker.
Okay, let me ask you this question. Look out, right? Do you have the right to say, no, you don't want to sign that, right? Yeah.
Okay, well, I always...
Yeah, but it doesn't mean anything. There is no legal standing to whether or not you sign or don't sign. Any write-up will say that any signature is just acknowledging that you received it, not that you admitted any guilt.
And the best write-up is, before you put your name on it, put, I do not agree with what this statement says, and then sign it. Said, I don't agree with this. That's right from the start. So they're not confused about you agreeing with it. Or trying to say that you agree with it. But you don't even have to do that. But it's good to just let them know, I don't agree with the following statement. And then sign it. And they give it to you to sign. You got it right there. They can't stop you. And then it makes it clear from the very beginning. And then the next thing you do is call your steward and file a grievance.
Yeah, make sure you get a copy of that too.
And you only have a certain number of days to do that in some cases.
And that's what's going to be so handy about your little manual is that in the page 4, it's going to have a little cheat sheet for you so that when you go through your contract, you can just write down step 1, number of days to file. That way you know, and you can let people know, and your coworkers know, if they receive a write-up, they have this many days to file the first step of their grievance. Because one thing that What really sucks is if it's, you have 5 days to file your grievance, and on the 6th day, Oral gets a call, and he can no longer represent that person because of a time limitation. So we want to make sure everybody knows how many days to file, who files. Is it the union rep? Is it the steward? Is it the worker? Or who's the person who's supposed to do that step one? We have contracts where it has to be the worker going to their, direct supervisor, and then Rose and I were to try to file that for them. They would say, okay, we're going to throw, they have tried to get us to not go through the grievance because we didn't follow the grievance procedure correctly. So this is just a little cheat sheet, and we want to maybe even think about when there are new workers who come on to the job site, maybe we want to give them some kind of little cheat sheet to say, hey, welcome to the union. We want you to know, here's some things you should know. And then, we might want to have a little tiny cheat sheet for them. If you were ever to call into an office, make sure you call me. Here's our union membership card. Here's you have this many days.
You should give it to them right after they sign up.
After they sign up, of course.
And you should give it to non-members. In Gulf Coast, y'all should ask for more of these, and we will produce them for you and give them out to all the members so they have this to go by when they have to file. Same thing in the county, the DSC. But we're not going to give it to non-members. If they don't want representation, they want good representation like we can give them. But you can use it as a tool to help you sign up members. And Kenny will come out there and pick the cards up anytime, right, Kenny?
They are not.
AM, PM, Saturday, Sunday.
Or in some places, they don't have a cheat sheet. They call some of us in the union and ask us what steps to take. And we explain to them and tell them they contact you either whether they're in the union or not. That's why we get some people that they feel it, they're gone and get it. But the thing about it is that they need to introduce it when we go to the new hire training, which I had been there 22 and a half years, and I just had new hire training in April, and it wasn't presented by HR or none of the people that gave it, which I didn't look for the education of the components, but HR should have explained to them that we have people that are in the union. We do have union. Mr. Gonzalez and them need to do it, and they're doing it. And I think when we do our bargaining, we need to let Dr. J know, even though we love her, and Mr. Gonzalez and sitting there, they're not doing it. And I know for a fact, I've just got a new hire certificate. I can fax it to you Monday.
Good.
And it wasn't presented. And they're just about everybody in there was in the union.
Put in the name of the steward on the sheet when they hand it out, your name and phone number. That might be a good idea too.
Yeah. They don't even tell them that Sheila Frazier's right there in the corporate office, and she needs to be there to present that part of Local 100. Really and truly, because they don't.
We will bring that up in our next bargaining session.
All right. Okay.
And Evelyn, she is there, in the office. So it's going to be easy for her to come down the hallway. About these new people that are new, and we're going to be having some come in at DSC, and we're going to have some certainly coming in Gulf Coast.
They have a new hire.
The best time to sign up for new hires is the first day they show up on the job, because that's when they need to be a member. And so our stewards need to, as they see a new person come to the door. Now, Pearlie's good at that, right, Pearlie? Sometimes you have to go visit your center that have been in the agency for a couple of months, and she signs them up as soon as they come in the door.
Even if they are crazy.
Yeah, we don't discriminate on that.
Now, of course, the other people that have a real advantage are people that have more than one center to go. Pearlie's got one center. Ruthie over there's got what, 4 or 5 centers? 8 centers. Now, see, if I ever to light a fire under her, she could probably sign up 2 or 3 members a week.
I can, and I do try to get new members, but they just afraid. Then I also have to be careful when I ask them, because I'm always on the premises for one.
You got to do it on break time. Yeah. Now, next time you find one that's scared, call me, let me know who they are. I'll come out and scare them, and then they'll be scared of me instead of
Or what site managers and welcome you, which ones they don't welcome you in. Some of them don't care about you coming on campus.
And of course, in Dallas County Schools, if you're not in the union, we don't have to represent you. Unfortunately, at Head Start, we have to represent people even not the union. But, you know, there's representation and there's representation. And there's representation. You only get the A team if you remember.
First, it was written up as a result of telephone conversation with the supervisor, and the investigation took place over, she was $13 and the phone. And the investigation took place over telephone. And the only advice I can give her was to, as soon as you finish your conversation, come out and tell somebody what was said on the conversation, or step outside and write it down.
Right. David. But main thing is, we need to teach that little lady not to talk to him on the telephone.
Right. Not to or do to?
Not
to.
And that doesn't happen all the time, but again, once in a blue moon type of thing.
But when people are called into a meeting with supervisors, they don't know what it's about.
Right.
And they don't know to be on guard for that.
Well, there's one, the one we had at Doug Coaches the other day, they had the head of human resources come out to the center, which doesn't happen very often, and didn't tell the lady there was a meeting, walk in on her, they come into the office.
Call me back, I'm in a meeting.
And that was the investigating committee hearing that they didn't sign for. So that, you know, when I was talking about it earlier, they didn't sign the form saying, oh, do you want to rep? And the HR director was trying to act like he didn't have to. I said, well, did you ask her any questions? Well, yeah, I did. Well, it sounds like it was an investigation, doesn't it? So maybe I'm educating him a little bit, but, you know, after you educate him 4 or 5 times, you just realize he's stupid, he's uneducatable. But, you know, it helps us because we do have a leverage then when we do the agreements because we didn't do the process right. If you don't force them to do it right, they'll do it wrong all the time.
Every time.
Any other questions today?
Ms. Thomas?
Yes, Mrs.
Lauren, how do you all handle when they set new policies in the district that you all might be unfamiliar with? Do you all get a copy of the policies every year that's set in? Because you know they change all the time.
There is
to suit them.
There's board policies that are on the internet, and they do change them all the time. They just try to change the one about PE, where kids didn't have to take PE anymore. Stop them from doing that, but that's not really to do with the union. But we do have a copy of it. But, you know, it needs to be, if something's starting to affect you, you need to tell me, and we can look into it. But, you know, they do change it all the time. And I know, she just, Miss West, Thomas. It's going to take me a month or 2, but I'm not bashful. I'll keep asking. So, you know, what was I talking about?
I don't know, but you weren't bashful. You were talking.
You can't go into meetings like that. You can talk about the policy.
I don't know, and y'all don't agree.
But here's what you were talking about, is the fact they changed the rules. Now, in the private sector, when they change the rules, they have to meet with the union first. So in the private sector, and that's Gulf Coast, that's Res Care, we've been through this over and over again. If they try to change anything that has to do with terms and conditions of employment, that's the definition. What is that? Wages, hours, or terms and conditions of employment. That's a very broad waterfront. They have to meet with the union first. Other than that, it's what's called a unilateral change. And we've been to the labor board, we've filed grievances. That can't happen. We've seen them try that at Freeman. We've seen them try that one company after another. That's what a lot of these labor board things are, including this 10J injunction that we just got. Very rare for the labor board to have to go into federal court to demand in federal court before there's a hearing that they have to bargain with us to resolve these things. That's what you...
I mean, is it true or not true? The caveat is that we have 6 months. I mean, you can only file a charge with the labor board within 6 months of an incident. So if a policy is distributed and people are unhappy with it, the sooner they tell the union, the better. Because we can't go a year, 2 years later and say, hey, we have a problem with this policy, because then it's too late. We really need to jump on it as soon as these policies come out and people are unhappy about it, and y'all, and if, you know, if y'all start hearing people are unhappy about this new rule we got, we need to fight that right then. And that's a way for us to mobilize and get more people a part of the union. If there's a law, you know, a new policy that says, at Res Care, they had one that came out last year or so about you couldn't pick up, if you were PRN and you didn't pick up a number of shifts in a row, then you would be terminated. Well, we had to jump on that and fight it immediately, or else, you know, you can't just say it later. Problem. So that's just one thing we want to make sure. Stewards and leaders are our eyes and ears at the work site, and we won't know there's a problem unless people call us and tell us, and we need to fight sooner rather than later. That's why we're all together.